what the fuck is this? This is totally bullshit. I got it from ChatGPT, and as I'm reading it, I'm like, that's not what happened at all.
That's why you should use Wikipedia.
I know, you're right. All right, I'm going to Wikipedia. Sorry. Okay. Because it says here Herschel's faith in the group is tested, especially when walkers break into the farm.
The episode ends with Rick and the group having to defend the farm and make tough decisions to ensure their
I mean, they
survival.
were farming, but
They're farm adjacent.
there it goes. The infected survivors begin to succumb to the illness and reanimate as walkers, forcing the survivors to start to kill their friends. Daryl's group returns in time for Herschel and Bob to help administer the medicine and cure the remaining infected. Carol's absence from the group is noticed, but Rick only confides in his choice to a select few. As the survivors recover and try to return to a regular routine, they are unaware they're being watched from afar by the governor.
The governor.
So, what do you think about watching this one?
Yeah, I enjoyed it well enough. It's a slow. I found it quite slow. I don't know why,
Hmm.
especially on the second watch. I don't know if it's just like I wasn't in the right frame of mind to watch it. It's quite a slog. I don't know if it's because I know that we're coming up to like I did the timeline, and basically this day at the end of the episode, we're going to be on this day for like basically most of the rest of the season because this is the day that the governor attacks. This is the day when all the group splinters. So I hope that you all really enjoy day 524 because we are going to be here for a while. But no, there's some really strong moments, some really gross moments, and some really
Yeah.
powerful moments in it. So yeah, it was good.
Yeah, I did. I thought it was a fantastic episode. Just horrific, and the progression of how bad things get while Herschel's trying to keep things positive is so like I always remember this episode hitting hard, and I think one reason is because illness is more relatable than zombies. You know, we've all been sick, we've been around sick people, it's awful, and that feeling of helplessness as it gets worse and worse, it's almost too much actually. Like yeah, I don't know if you want to go here at all, but I wondered about you, like if you felt triggered because you had a sick friend recently.
Yeah,
Did you
I
think
mean,
about that at all?
sort of. I think I thought about it in terms of at the end when Herschel kind of it all hits him. And I think I
Yeah.
could sympathize with like when you're in the midst of it, you don't always feel it. And I think what Dr. S says about end stage and like when you know you're going and he knows he's going
Mm,
at that point, I
yeah.
thought that was quite powerful.
Hmm.
But I think what's difficult about these episodes in a way is how quickly it happens and how just helpless everyone feels in it. Like it's one thing when you're confronted with like one person who has a disease that you're informed about and you're given a prognosis and you kind of get your head around it and you try and learn to live with it. But what I think this episode does really well is it's like the snowball effect of like everyone's dying, the fence is coming down, the
Hmm.
antibiotics aren't here. It's scary. And I think I felt there's a moment I'd forgotten about where one of the characters, I think, is it his kid has died or something, and he's sleeping, and Herschel's like, "Do you want me to
Yeah.
come in and look with him?" And he's like, "No,
No, no,
no."
no, no.
And I'm like, "Oh, that really bypassed me the first couple times." But yeah, and the way that Herschel, I think, tries to keep the humanity of it in amidst all the horror. Usually with The Walking Dead, it's like a quick put down, and you're just faced with those problems. But Herschel has this kind of old gentlemanly way of wanting to keep it all, I don't know, keep people's hopes up, and that's quite. I don't know. I can sympathize with that in the face of illness and sickness and people being ill.
Yeah, because yeah, it's like a rapid version of things that some of us have lived with over a longer period of time, but they're
Yeah.
similar, like you're saying, like how do you just not be like you see someone who you know is sick and maybe dying, maybe not, but just really
Hmm.
sick, and just not be like, oh my god, this is awful. They don't want
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah.
And even in this compressed time frame, well, they need hope because he doesn't want them just giving up. But yeah, it's just trying to keep the spirits up and not just have the focus be on the horribleness of the situation.
Yeah.
But
Especially
it
for the
is
kids.
horrible. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a really cute little guy with curly hair who I don't think we ever see again, and I'm like, oh, that kid's really cute, and I bet he's gonna
Yeah,
die in the next
he's gone.
episode. And then he puts him in the cell with Lizzie, and I'm like,
I
Lizzie
know. I
probably
was like,
killed him.
no.
Like, well, have fun in there. Like, awful.
Well, let's get into the points.
Well, I'd like to talk a little about Rick and Carl, and it follows on from what you were saying, because one of the bits that stood out to me with Rick and Carl is it's actually quite a nice episode for the two of them because Rick finally lets Carl act up in a good way, like act up the way rather than act up like a kid who's being a pain in the ass. But one of the things that Carl says to him is you can't keep him away from what always happens. And I think what he's talking about is death and danger. And Rick says, that's it. You can't keep me from what always happens. And Rick says, I think it's my job to try. And it's this thing about protecting your child from the darkness of the world. And even when you're not in the zombie apocalypse, I know I have friends who are parents who struggle with the idea that their kids are going to have bad experiences at some points, and that must be really, really hard to know that there is pain and death and danger out there. But what we see with Rick and Carl in this episode is he comes to Carl almost as an equal to ask for help, and he shows him how to use the gun, and Carl has pretty much played by the rules since we saw him shoot that kid down at the end of last season. You know, he says, Dad, I haven't used my gun, blah blah blah. Um, and this kind of weirdly, I think this is my only on The Walking Dead moment, is like only on The Walking Dead would a father-son duo mowing down a crowd of walkers be like quite heartwarming.
Father-son bonding experience.
It's a father-son zombie massacre, and we're all here for it. Yeah, and I just love that. I loved seeing, and there's this moment where Rick steps back and he's just watching Carl because Carl's like thrown him some bullets. He's like saved Rick's ass by shooting a zombie while Rick was not distracted, but you know, he was having a moment trying to get to it. And yeah, I just feel like Carl comes into his own this episode, and obviously because it's a rewatch, we're always thinking a little bit ahead, and I'm thinking about what comes next, which is Rick and Carl's very intense episode where Rick's basically incapacitated and Carl's really friggin' angry at him.
Jiggy jar jar do.
Yeah. Oh my god. Gingerbread boy. But yeah, I like the Rick and Carl stuff in this episode. I thought the two of them together was quite touching, and it was nice to see the two of them work together like that. And for Carl to say to his dad that it was all going to be okay at the end was quite nice.
What I think I missed that part.
When the car's pulling up and he's like, Dad.
Oh, okay.
It's all going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when Carl said, you can't keep me from what always happens, I thought, he's right. He doesn't, and he doesn't.
Yep.
And that's sad, right? To think about it. Like, no, I don't think the writers had that in mind.
No, I don't think they did at all. And I just love watching Andrew Lincoln and Chandler Riggs together because they famously had a really good relationship off screen as well.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just nice to see them together. Like, I really do think that if he hadn't gotten written off the show when he did, we might have had Rick for longer. I don't regret like what we did have, but I do think that was probably a big factor in it.
I do. I'd rather have Carl if it meant Rick stayed.
Yeah.
Which sounds like a weird thing to say for people who don't know me. Rick's my favorite character, but I also enjoyed that more people got to shine after he left, and then we got to wrap up his story. But I would rather have, if it meant keeping Carl alive and not had that, I would have preferred that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then, yeah, like, it's true. Can't keep me from what always happens. Even now, my son Nico's 13. I see him going through stuff. I want to tell him, my thoughts, but he's in that teen phase where I can tell he doesn't want me to sit there and scrutinize his life and try to help him through it, And so I'm like, all right. I'm like, you can always talk to me. And then I let him, but I do try to sneak it in sometimes. Yeah, we just
mow down
mow
some
down
zombies.
zombies together. We were just
Great.
outside yesterday, me and Bodhi and Nico. This is tangentially related, maybe. And we were walking down to the mall to get some lunch, and this guy across the street goes, "God damn it!" like that. And I was like,
Whoa.
oh my God. I look over, and it's a clean cut looking guy, not like some, he didn't look mentally ill or anything, but he was out of control emotionally.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so I'm just like, all right, stay away from that guy. And then I was looking something up on my phone, and we had to come back because we needed reservations. And so we were going to go back later. Anyway, I was looking something up on my phone, and that guy's still there, and he's still screaming. And then he crosses the street where we are, and he's all, "Hey, can I borrow your phone? I need to call my dad." And I'm like, "No." And he goes, "What? Why not, you fucker?" And I'm like, "Because you were yelling in the middle of the street. You're scaring my kids." And he's like,
Yeah.
"Well, screw you. You people who don't or are not San Francisco natives just need to get out of here." And I'm like, "What the hell is he talking about? He doesn't know whether we're natives or not." And I wonder if it was an anti-Asian thing because my kids are half Asian. I don't even know, but I was just like, "Dude, no thanks, bye."
So was that like your local senator or just?
I don't know. I don't know what the hell that was all about. Anyway, that's
And
so
did you
off
say
track.
to Nico and Bodhi, "You shoot or you run. Don't let him get close."
I asked Nico later, "Do you think I should have let him use my phone?" And he's like, "No." I mean, he might have thrown it down on the ground for all I know.
Yeah, absolutely.
I did feel kind of bad for him, but whatever.
Nah, there's other stuff going on there. That's not your problem to fix. Yeah.
Okay, anyway, I'll go into my next point, which is I have some stuff to say about Carl and Rick, but maybe I'll save that and get into medical stuff.
Yum.
So first, I have a few different points that kind of relate to medical stuff. One is the accuracy of using antibiotics to combat a flu, because we had a call in saying that it was inaccurate that they'd use antibiotics to combat this sickness because antibiotics treat bacterial infections, and this is a strain of the flu, which is viral. And I was like, I know the writers are they cut corners sometimes, but I don't think they would have that kind of an inaccuracy for something so central. I feel like they would do some research and not be that careless about it. So I did some digging to find out. And when the council is talking about this sickness, Carol says, "What are we going to do to stop this?" Herschel says, "There's no stopping it. You get it. You have to go through it." Michonne says, "But it just kills you." And Herschel says, "The illness doesn't. The symptoms do. We need antibiotics." So based on that exchange, I think what's happening is the antibiotics aren't treating the illness or flu itself, which Herschel says you can't treat, you just have to go through it, but they're being used to fight secondary bacterial infections. So I read that viral illnesses like the flu can weaken the immune system, making it easier for bacteria to invade the lungs and other parts of the body. And in real life, people with severe flu are sometimes prescribed antibiotics to treat or prevent complications like bacterial pneumonia. So it does reflect a real-world medical approach to treating complications from viral illnesses, and the dialogue and the action, I think, support that. Yeah. So I think that's
Okay.
what it's all about.
And I guess at that stage, you're going to do whatever you can. Like, you're just going to try.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it was more than just, we don't really know what to do, so let's try this because it might help. I think Herschel was like, look, you're having symptoms related to the bacterial infection because your immune system was weakened, so we know how to treat that. Antibiotics, and it did work. But, they can't give him that dialogue.
No.
So I also thought antibiotics brings up a lot for me. They're drugs that kill or slow the growth of bacteria to treat bacterial infections. They're a freaking miracle. I mean, here the antibiotics get there, people start to get better almost immediately. People without experience with antibiotics might think, oh, that's not real, but they do work that fast in my experience. I've needed them a few times, even just over the past few years, because I had ear infection and I felt better within a few hours after taking them. So
yeah,
I think that part makes sense too. But I think it shouldn't go without saying that, and probably most of you know this, but overusing antibiotics can lead to antibiotic resistance, where bacteria evolved to survive treatments that previously killed them. My wife, who's a doctor, mentions this a lot. So that makes infections harder to treat, and it can pose serious health risks if people overuse them too much, like they won't work anymore. So we can use them responsibly by only taking them when prescribed.
Always take the full course.
Always take the full course. Otherwise, the bacteria that don't die out are just stronger and could breed and resist. Never using leftover antibiotics or sharing them with others. Yeah, that kind of stuff. Little public service announcement there.
Absolutely. Last week you learned how to wash blood out of your clothes. This week you're learning about antibiotics.
Right.
You are welcome.
The more you know. The air squeeze bottle with the guy coughing up blood, and Sasha squeezes the bottle to push air into him, and then later Hershey and Maggle use it on Glenn. And that's, I guess, a makeshift ventilator, and they probably are having respiratory failure because of fluid buildup in the lungs from bacterial pneumonia, so they need a ventilator to force air into their lungs. And I read that can also cause like long-term lung damage, but they never mentioned anything about that with Glenn after this.
I mean, I will say, I definitely agree with what you say about antibiotics sometimes having a really quick effect. When it comes to what Glenn's going to be doing in like 1 or 2 days' time, I am like, you were literally just dying of choking on your own blood like 2 days ago. But it's fine.
No, you're absolute, like, that is Walking Dead. They get beat the fuck to death, and then Herschel lost his leg. I don't know how long ago now, maybe a couple months, but still,
like 2 days.
Pretty ridiculous. Yeah. Ridiculous. And then doctors as patients. So Herschel said to Dr. S or Caleb, doctors make the worst patients. And I was thinking about that with Jenny, my wife, who's a doctor. And I've seen her go in for things a few times. She got bitten by that dog recently that I talked about.
Oh, yeah.
And also I've seen her when she goes in when we bring our kids in, and she's there to talk to the doctors, just for exams or whatever, if they're having a problem. And every time, as soon as the doctor examining her or one of our kids knows that she's a doctor too, the conversation totally changes. They start speaking in medical language, medical shorthand. They skip over a lot of things and go straight to the important stuff faster, symptoms and solutions. And the dynamic changes. There's usually a mutual respect with her and another doctor. And if there's nurses or aides there, they sometimes start deferring to her, almost like she's the boss, which I thought was interesting. I guess there's such a hierarchy, I guess, in, medical situations.
I don't tell. So my title is doctor because I've got a PhD in humanities. I don't tell medical professionals unless they ask that it's not a medical degree, because I think sometimes they give you more direct treatment, or they're more open with you about things. But they do check. Some people do. The minute they come in, they're like, "Oh, and what is it you're a doctor of?" And I'm like, "Ah, damn it!" And I'm like, "Nothing useful. Not this." But it is interesting because I do think you get treated a bit better sometimes. It's a weird one.
They're more straight with you, and
I think so.
Sometimes I feel like, there's just more respect there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like having Jenny with me, and she's super tough too, by the way. When she was pregnant with Nico and she knew she'd be having the baby at the same hospital that she worked at the time. And the day she went into labor, she drove to the hospital, she put in a day's work, and then she had the baby. While she was like having contractions throughout the day. So
is she a good patient?
Yeah, I mean, she tore her ACL, which is in your knee, skiing a couple years back, and she was pretty lax on the physical therapy. I don't know. I hope she's okay with me saying this. I don't think she would care. But then and the physical therapist kept telling her, you need to do more, but she just doesn't have a lot of time. That's why. But then it started to have negative impact. So she realized, I guess, he was right. I do need to do more. So she's been making more of an effort now, and it's had a good, but I mean, I would say though, with her, it's not true. She's a good patient, I think, from what I've seen. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And anyone who's curious about her, by the way, if you haven't already, check out our White Lotus podcast. It's me and her and Randy, who does Welcome to the Apocalypse as well, the Zombie Pro podcast. And White Lotus season 3 comes out next month, and we're all excited to get going on it.
Yeah, that's gonna be really cool.
Mm-hmm. Thailand. Okay. What else?
I'll talk about some medical stuff. I usually have quite a high gross out factor. I'm usually pretty like, yeah, I'm fine with this. Yeah, whatever. Oh my God, this episode.
Yeah.
It's really bad.
Yeah.
The worst bit for me was when I thought Herschel was going to reuse the same intubation tube on Glenn as had been in the Henry the Zombie's throat. Thankfully, I don't think he did. I think he used the balloon, but used a new what's the word?
Tube or whatever.
What's the word? Sterile. That's one. Sterile
yeah.
tube. Yeah. But oh my God, Stephen Yeun horking up all that stuff as Glenn was absolutely revolting. Oh my God, I could not.
For me, it's scary. Even now, knowing he survives, it's just, you feel like, oh my God, no, not Glenn.
Horrifying, absolutely horrifying. And the way they play a lot of this episode, the body horror is just off the scale. Like, and it starts so quietly with, Herschel showing Sasha and Glenn how to intubate and how to keep the oxygen flowing into the guy's lungs. And it's such a weird foreshadowing because we know that Glenn's going to need it later in the episode. And he sort of says, how long can you keep this going for? And Herschel's like, as long as we're willing to do it. And it's just so ominous. And of course, Sasha passes out from dehydration, which is often one of the worst side effects with a cold or a flu is dehydration, and that's why you end up in hospital, is because you need an IV just to make sure that you're getting your electrolytes. Dr. S looks terrible.
Bleeding from the eyes, yeah.
Oh God, when he's like, look at me, Herschel. I'm like, oh, this is like a different kind of horror film. And someone keeling over in spasm and dying out in the hallway, Herschel yelling, get back in your cells while Sasha goes to get the stretcher. It's so grim. It's so bleak and so upsetting just to see people in that much medical distress. I just thought this episode did a really good job of pulling that horror out of the situation. It wasn't even the threat of becoming a walker is obviously always there, but the actual disgustingness of the what is happening to these people, just very well rendered, very well done.
Yeah, and it's just so bleak. Well, so I'll go into Herschel fights the sickness and the bleakness, which it's one of the bleakest scenarios in all of The Walking Dead. Maybe it really stands out to me, and it's such a contrast with how horrific it is, and Herschel in there fighting it and trying to keep people's spirits up. He's like a shining light in the dark, and at one point he quotes Steinbeck, a sad soul can kill quicker than a germ. And I think there's some truth to that for sure. Good advice. And he's you get the sickly Sasha and Glenn trying to help but looking really rough, and Herschel going, I hereby declare we have Spaghetti Tuesdays every Wednesday, his famous line. Oh
yes,
caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting it. I think it's corny, but it's so lovable, and man, Sasha and Glenn did not go for it at all.
They could have cheered up a little bit, if you ask me. I was like, where's your sense of humor, guys? That's hilarious.
Give them a courtesy laugh. Jeez. I think it helped on a subconscious level.
Yeah, I think it healed them.
Then completely. And then one of the sick people dies, and Glenn's about to knife him, and Herschel says, not here, just wanting to keep, and I think he was about to read last rites. He's just trying to remember our humanity kind of thing. And with him being so heroic, and also having a good episode last week, I think, or the week before, I wondered if Karen and I thought, oh, they're giving Herschel a lot to do. I think they're going to kill him off. I don't remember thinking that. Herschel won't let Maggie come in, and they're meeting by the door with the glass window, and that was really lovely. And he said, just hold it together a little longer, please. I love you, honey. I thought that was really nice. And then he said, how's Bethy? Which made me remember that Rick called Judith Judy last
Judy.
time. They had their little nicknames for each other.
That's really cute.
And then, but it just keeps getting worse. Glenn looking more and more deathly. Caleb with those bleeding eyes and saying, just make sure everyone's doors are shut, which Herschel nods at. So I think he's optimistic, but not delusional. And Herschel, another guy, spasms and coughs up blood and dies. And I think that might have been the first time we ever saw Herschel stab somebody in the head.
Mm-hmm.
And Herschel's like, go back in your cells. Don't look. Look away. And then he finds Sasha unresponsive in her cell, and this bloody mouthed woman lying in her cell, and then her eyes open because she's turned. And it's like, oh my God. I feel like I didn't, just think that it would get so bad until like, then it's just total mayhem, pandemonium, zombies everywhere. Herschel says, Caleb, we need the gun. And then Caleb's like, wah!
Oh, that part is brilliant. I'm like, I'm dead. Oh.
And then we have freaking Lizzie out there trying to lead a zombie away from Glenn. Come on, boy. Come on. I'm like, fuck me.
I was like, in the middle of all this, you've got a child demon being like, play with me, play. Peter was like, to be fair, she did save Glenn. And I'm like,
yeah. And
yes.
And she, when it fell on her, she screamed. So I'm like, well, at least she recognizes in that moment she's in danger, but she's also then defending her reasoning to Herschel. And for some reason, that scene stood out the most to me in this episode. And I always thought this episode had more of that, but it was just that one little bit with her, with Lizzie. Then Glenn, as you said, coughing up so much blood. Maggie finally has enough and comes in, and she saves both of their lives, right? Because Herschel's trying to get that ventilator, and the zombie's attacking him. Maggie shoots the zombie and then saves Herschel's life, and then they go save Glenn's life. Then they get there with the antibiotics, and that's pretty much it. Everyone's totally fine. And then Herschel takes that moment to himself and cries and doesn't have to hold it together anymore. Yeah.
Scott Wilson is incredible in this episode. He's so good.
Yeah, and it's fun, I'm sure, to get to play just a total hero with only good qualities, He's got no flaws in this episode whatsoever.
He's just the person you would want to be. It's like what Rick says to him. He's like, they're looking at you, Herschel, like you're elevating this, you're the one.
Yeah.
And it's just really beautiful.
And what if he hadn't been there?
I was thinking about this. Would it have just been carnage? Would it have just been like
I feel like hopefully people would have gone in their cells and closed the doors. And so honestly, I don't know for sure, but maybe just a few more people would have died. One of whom may have been Glenn,
Yeah.
Which is not good.
No.
Yeah.
Although, would you rather die like that or by Negan smashing your head in a lineup? Neither are great.
Gosh, which one how would I rather go? I guess the sickness, yeah. But he got to live a little longer, so there's that.
He got to see Terminus.
Yeah. Oh God. What did he get after that? He must have had some good times in there somewhere. We'll see.
You need to watch the Robot Chicken episode where they go to Terminus. It's so good. It's a musical.
I've seen that, but it's been forever, so I don't really remember.
Every time we talk about Terminus, we both go, "Welcome to Terminus." It's like, it's really going to wreck that reveal for me.
That
oh my
between
goodness.
that and bad lip reading.
I know. It's just we've gone full meme now, haven't we?
I feel like it was always funny to be watching this show where it's about cannibal monsters, and then Karen and I would come on and be like, hey everybody, you got to counteract the bleakness somehow.
It's too funny. It's too funny.
Anything else?
I liked that we learned a little more. Oh, hang on. No, about Herschel. Some council meeting, huh? Yeah, that whole scene is just beautiful. And yeah, I feel like he really should have got more of a laugh than he did for the Spaghetti Tuesdays line.
Hmm.
Um, his interest in preserving the innocence of the kids is interesting to me. Like, there's a point later in the episode where he's really in, I would say, quite a lot of danger. Like, he gets out of it, he guides the walkers away and shoots them with Caleb's shotgun, but he takes time to do that rather than kill them in front of Lizzie, which not necessarily reckless, but it's ill-advised, I would say. I mean, he survives, but it's he's very noble into this into the end, right up to the end of his character arc here. And I think you're right. I think he has kept more people alive in this than would have been without him.
Yeah.
And I think he is the hope for them, and he is treating them like they're human and like there is hope, and that makes such a difference. I mean, that's one
Hmm.
thing I did think about was when someone is very ill, how they are treated by the people around them and the people who treat them humanely or talk to them like they're very sick. It can make a huge difference to how you feel about yourself and your self-esteem and how optimistic or pessimistic you feel
Hmm.
about how things are at that moment.
I mean, I think also, well, maybe I'm only getting this from TV and movies, but it seems like at some point a person can decide to keep living or decide to die if it's
I
really
think there
bad, you
is
know?
I think there is, yeah, like I always shy away from one of the things that my friend who passed away I think really didn't like, and I can totally see why, is the idea of like an illness or cancer as a battle that you can win or lose, and
Yeah.
like you're a survivor, slay queen, you survived. Because sometimes you just get handed a shit lot, and
No,
you.
absolutely. I know.
But
There's a fine line
what?
there. Yeah, yeah. I don't want to say like, oh, it's because then you can sort of start to say it's the person's fault that they have it. And I don't want anyone to ever think that. You know what I mean?
But I think you have a point in that. I think sometimes when people know something is terminal, it's not that they give up, but they stop struggling.
Yeah.
And I think there's a
And
difference
and
there.
accept it. Yeah.
And sometimes that's good, that's
This is a
peaceful,
dark
that's nice.
subject, but
It
yeah,
is
like
dark.
I
Yeah,
think that kind of thing only happens when they're on the precipice. And
yeah,
then at that
exactly.
point, you can choose, okay, I'm going to stop fighting it and let it happen, or you can fight more, you know? And
Yeah.
here, when you got antibiotics coming that could save you, you need someone to help you fight a little bit longer so you can get the treatment.
Well, I think that does make a huge difference. Like, is it Sasha and Tyrese have that conversation? Yeah, and Sasha's like, there could be medicine by tomorrow, and like that makes a huge difference to her
Yeah,
because she knows.
fight.
And actually, that is kind of my next point was what we learned a bit more about Sasha in this episode.
Mm. Hmm. I loved
She's
her scene.
one of the characters I'm really glad to get to know again because knowing how she goes out and the kind of journey that she goes on, because she wasn't a comic book character,
Nope.
she wasn't somebody that I really knew anything about going in. So in this episode, she's determined to help Herschel. Sasha and Glenn are right there by his side at the start. They're both looking absolutely crap, like they both look very, very ill. There's a moment where Sasha goes to get a stretcher to help Herschel out, and she's barely standing, like she's dead on her feet essentially. And Herschel finds her later keeled over in her cell. So obviously, us watching at home at this point, we're probably like, "Oh fuck!"
Hmm.
But he gets her IV fluids. She was very dehydrated, and she wakes up, and she has this really interesting bit of dialogue where she says she doesn't believe in magic or luck. She's someone who does the math and doesn't gamble. However, she kind of laughs because she's like, Herschel is proving that wrong because he's
She
persisting.
says, I don't know if I'd be right here right now if you weren't so damn stupid.
Yeah. And I think that it's just a really nice moment because with Sasha, we're only just starting to get to know her a little bit. And I feel sort of like all eyes are on Tyrese because he's a comic book character. He's had more things to do with losing Karen and kind of watching him deal with his rage and his upset at that. But I'm excited to see where Sasha goes because we're going to get a bit of development with her and Bob, and then her and Abraham, and her and Maggie's friendship, which I really liked. And then eventually she dies a very heroic death. Like she nearly takes Negan out. So it's interesting to see a bit. the kind of fabric that makes her as a character and how that ties into where she's going to go. So yeah, I loved
Hmm.
spending more time with Sonequa Martin Green,
Yeah.
playing Sasha in this role. For someone so beautiful, she looks disgusting in this episode. Like there's a bit where she's lying back on the pillow and it's just like, oh my God, she's like clammy and looks, oh, it's really
Still
gross. No
hot.
offense. Still hot, but like, you might wear a mask.
Yeah, I like her character a lot. I think for my money, she made more of an impact than Tyrese on the series.
Yeah.
I don't like. I never liked when she got together with Abraham, and I know Renee is saying me neither, because
Yeah.
they just. I mean, yeah, it was a shitty thing to do to Rosita, but also it was just weird. Like they didn't have chemistry. I didn't think.
No,
I
I'm
thought
with
it
you on
didn't
that.
work.
I'm like, really? Really? And also
Yeah.
like I do wonder if we would have been sadder about Abraham dying if he hadn't been such a dick to Rosita for
Yeah.
like the last 6 episodes.
Yeah. The
I'm
last
like,
time we're like, you're a dick.
we're like, I'm
Poor
not
guy.
saying
Because
Negan was
Michael
right.
Cudlitz
I'm
is so
just saying,
great.
I mean, he's amazing. I was
Yeah.
thinking the other day about he used to have a lookalike from Germany or something who would
Mm.
walk around at Walker Stalker,
Hmm.
and it was uncanny.
It
Like they
was.
were so
I
similar.
thought it
It
was
was
him a few
really weird.
times. Yeah.
Oh my
And
gosh, it
speaking
was
of
really wild.
lookalikes, I probably told this story on the podcast before, but they would have these amazing costume parties at Walker Stalker because it was especially in Atlanta around Halloween, and
Hmm.
one time there was a bust of Herschel's head, and it was on a picnic table with the red and white stripes, and
Yeah.
he was like slurping up some spaghetti, and it's like the Spaghetti Tuesday thing, and Karen went over and to get a picture, and I'm like, I think I don't remember if it was my idea or hers, but she went to kiss him on the head, and it turned out it was a real guy. He like looked up at her. We didn't know. It was really funny.
That's amazing. I would love to see the photo evidence of this.
Yeah, I gotta
That would be
find that. See if I have
hilarious.
it. All right, my turn.
Yes.
All right, let me see if I have anything else to say about Rick. I had a point. Rick leadership in making the tough calls, because I feel like having to ease back into this leadership position, he can't hide away from the realities of the world, and so he has to deal with when it's okay to use violence while tempering himself, and having to also guide Carl along that path rather than keeping him hiding away, especially even Carl doesn't want to be hiding away. He wants to be in there helping.
Yeah.
And so he the first scene is him looking at his fist that's bandaged and bleeding because he just beat Tyrese, and then Ed's
Yeah.
watch that Carol gave him. I guess he's wearing it, right? He's wearing Ed's watch. No, he had it in his hand.
No, it's like sitting weirdly like a watch commercial. Yeah.
And I think that shows the focus on the burden of having to step back and try to lead in two recent tough situations that he's had to deal with Tyrese and Carol. And I thought, is he
Oh,
gonna
I
be
like that.
fretting again over this? Then he comes through the gates in the Hyundai, in this heroic Hyundai shot, back from banishing Carol. And I totally did not remember that Maggie asked him right away, "Where's Carol?" But no, I want to know where Carol is. And then he told her the truth, which I admire. I'm glad he didn't try to hide it. And then she's like sort of processing, but quickly, like Rick's like, would you have brought her back? She said she killed them. Yeah. Then you were right to send her away. I don't know if I could have. And then Rick says, you could have, Maggie. You've done harder things. Don't doubt yourself. We don't get to anymore. And I'm like, you doubt yourself all the time. But he's maybe talking to himself here a little bit. But I also think once Maggie does become a leader, that she spends less time doubting herself than Rick ever did. And she has to make a lot of hard decisions. But she's
It's
more
very, yeah, it's very cool knowing where they both end up as leaders of opposing, not
opposing.
not opposing camps, but opposing viewpoints of how to deal with situations.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
It's really
Negan,
cool.
how to deal with Negan, and I think this is maybe the writers already had an idea that Rick does see Maggie as a future leader, because at some point he tells her, I want you to be leading me, or something like that. After this, I think it was after.
I'm going to follow you.
Yeah, after the all-out war with Negan and the Saviors. And then at the end, Daryl asks Herschel about where's Carol, and Herschel says, go ask Rick. So I guess that means Rick or Maggie told Herschel, because Herschel seems to know.
Oh, well, you see Rick say to him, I need to talk to you
Oh,
about
okay.
Carol. And then Herschel kind of staggers back in, and I'm like, oh man, is he like,
Mm,
he seems
upset.
pretty upset about what's happened. But also, there's a lot of other stuff going on. So, like, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if I had to guess, I would guess that Herschel supported Rick's decision because he said she's okay, which
Yeah.
I don't know if she's okay, but that's what he wants to think.
Yeah. I think he's more shocked by what Carol did, I guess.
Maybe, yeah.
Because it's the complete opposite of what Herschel's been doing.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Herschel would never.
No.
um, and then, so that's around Carol. But the other thing is with Carl. Like if Rick is realizing I have to step up and help with these harder situations, I can't just be a farmer. I can be a farmer, but I can't just be a farmer. And then Carl wants to do the same. And Carl here wants to help Rick shore up the fence that's weakening from all the extra Zeds coming in. Thanks, Lizzie. And Rick says,
cheers,
no.
Liz.
And Rick says no. And Carl says, Dad, you can't keep me from it. From what? From what always happens. Yeah, maybe, but I think it's my job to try. But then Rick lets him help, and then the zombies just then break down the fence and get in. And I'm like, man, this place, well, that's one thing that's great about this episode is the threats coming, like you said earlier, from all directions, from outside and inside.
Yeah.
Inside the prison and inside our bodies, inside their bodies.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, you were there for a long time at the prison where things were going peacefully. You really should have shored up those rickety chain link fences better.
Honestly, I'm like,
that's
really?
dumb.
They've held for this long? Okay.
Yeah. And you think about the other communities, Woodbury, which they should have taken inspiration from, had a sturdy wall. Later, they don't know about this, but later Alexandria has a wall. Hilltop has a wall, right?
Yes. Hilltop has those really tall walls. Yeah.
Yeah. Commonwealth. Sanctuary, I don't know if it had a wall, but it had like zombies chained up outside, like a zombie moat kind of a thing.
And it had a barbecue.
No, that's Terminus. I'm talking.
Oh, sorry, Sanctuary. Yes,
yeah,
I thought you were talking about. Oh, sorry, I'm just hungry. I'm just hungry. I was talking about Hermanus earlier. I was like, oh, I'm hungry now. Yes, you're right. The Sanctuary didn't really have a wall. It had some fences, but not a wall.
So then when Rick decides to, okay, yeah, I need Carl to help, and is quickly teaching him how to use this semi-automatic gun. All right, magazine goes in here, releases here, pull back the operating rod, keep squeezing the trigger for rapid fire. I was thinking Carl must be like, yeah.
He's like, I'm so glad I watched Bad Boys.
and I think, yeah, this is about Rick trusting and depending on Carl again, that he can carry out the necessary violence without it turning him callous.
Do what needs to be done.
And then I keep thinking that, well, I think Carl never does turn callous, but Rick, we haven't seen Rick at peak callousness yet.
No.
So it's interesting he's gone through this whole arc where he's afraid. He's afraid. He's afraid if I step back in and start mixing it up in ways where violence is involved, I might lose myself. And then he does, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a bummer.
Yeah. But we need our flawed characters, or else
we've got to.
Too boring. Also, maybe they should have broke out those guns before the fence caved in.
I did laugh when I saw like a full trolley of just like guns. I was like, sure. That's cool.
Like, shoot the zombies through the chain link fence. That works.
Yeah, it's easy, you know. It's like we must preserve ammo until it looks cool, and then we don't need to.
Right. So we have no choice. All right, that's all my points.
I feel like I've got loads of like bit points, but not a huge amount. I guess I'd like to just say that it's a strong episode for Maggie. She's given quite a lot to do. When she turns up terrified about why Glenn's not there, I just my heart broke a little bit. Because when Glenn was like, if she knew I was sick like this, you couldn't keep her out, and I'm like, I don't know, you don't look amazing, like. But in all seriousness, I thought he's right. Yeah, right, Maggie, yeah. you would not. And I thought the way that Rick checks in with her about Carol was really interesting, and seeing her kind of think through that, and doubt herself, but also understand. Because I think Rick
Hmm.
needs to hear, like, yeah, you did the right thing at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. Because he's saying, don't doubt yourself. Would you have done any different? What he's really saying is, I'm doubting myself. Did I do the right thing?
hmm
I think.
I loved her busting into the wing of the prison to go and help Herschel and Glenn, and she shoots her way through the window in the visitation room that they've been using, or I think it might be the death row death sentence room.
Mm.
And there's just this lovely moment with her and her dad where he's like, I didn't want you to come here, and she says, I had to, just like you.
Just like you, Dad.
And they
Hmm.
he touches her face and she kisses his hand, and then Lizzie appears and asks if it's over, and Maggie kind of moves from being a little girl to being like more grown up and says, I hope so,
Mm.
honey, to Lizzie.
Hmm.
And I just, yeah, it's just a really lovely moment, and I'm really glad that she and Herschel get this time. She tells him to go and rest now that everyone's back. She looks after Glenn. Yeah, I just feel like Maggie's quietly coming into her own a lot at this
Hmm.
point in the show,
She's in a
and I'm appreciating.
transitional period. Like,
Yeah.
I love that moment you just pointed out because I love how we slip into different roles with different people. And she's being a
hmm
little girl with her dad, kind of, and then being, yeah, more of a nurturing mom
A
figure to
mom.
Lizzie just on a turn of a dime there. That's cool.
Yeah, it's that
Hmm.
in between stage.
Hmm.
And yeah, I just loved it. I just thought it was a really cute moment for both of them. And
Hmm.
yeah, I'm
Very
just sad
good.
that Herschel's
And
going.
they got along really well too, those two
Oh,
actors.
you can just, there's so much love there between the
Yeah.
two of them. Like, just so much love. And the way he's protecting Glenn above all the other patients because he knows what he means to Maggie and what he means to him, what he means to Herschel. It's just really lovely. It's a lot of love there.
Hmm. Yep. In
hmm
story and on a meta level,
Exactly.
real life. Well, let's see. I have a mini sort of mini point too. I keep thinking about how the sort of culmination of season 3 was Rick deciding to bring all the Woodburyans in. And then I
Yeah.
think it's a little dark that the writers took advantage of having all these randoms around to do this
Yeah.
story.
Red
It's,
shirts, right?
yeah, it's a really good story and I don't blame them at all. But, the triumph of last season is used for fodder kind of.
I know. I mean, we don't. No one really survives for. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it's
that's
not
right.
great.
But no one we really cared about died. It was
Yeah,
only the Woodburyans. I mean, the only time anyone we cared about died is if we liked them in their first episode that was also their last, like Patrick and
yeah.
Beth's
I mean,
boyfriend,
that's basically what Herschel said as well. It's like, look, no one we cared about died.
It's basically what he was saying.
They just cut the
Uh,
scene because it was felt to be a bit rude.
right. He's like, don't worry, guys. It's all fine. But I was trying to figure out how many died, and the Walking Dead wiki says 31, which is a lot, right? With 14 dying of the sickness and
Yeah.
17 related deaths. Died of the sickness. Patrick, well, I won't name all these guys because we don't even probably know. Charlie, Mr. Jacobson, Dr. S,